you want.
Okay, so I typed in my name and I typed in just a few numbers for the password. And
Oh, no. I put the password. Well, that's, yeah, because you just, yeah. No, it's the password I put into the chat. So I'm going to, again, here we go. So I just put it there.
Okay, cool.
It may take
So
a second
mine
to load
works, but it just says logging in and not. Okay.
Yeah, it may take a second to load up. Give me a second. Okay, I'm seeing people logging in. All right. Hi, Victor Sampson. All right. How's it showing up for y'all? Are you starting? Can you see the slides, which should look something like that?
Yes, I can see the slide. This is just coming up fine for me.
Okay, cool.
Same here.
You're good, Gift?
I can see the slides too.
No. So I have terrible internet. So that might be the cause. Yeah. But I'll see it. It's fine.
Okay. Well, I think you can see the slides. All right. Cool.
Yes, I can.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you all. Thank you all. And then you should be able to ask questions. So if you ever have any questions while we're doing stuff, it should show up. And then I'll ask for like certain, like, you know, if everybody's good, you can give a thumbs up as well. And hopefully you should see the words I'm saying come up, hopefully accurately, because I'm using the speech recognition API, and hopefully it's coming up properly. And if your internet is like not that great with the video and everything, you can actually turn off this video, because if you enable the audio, you'll be able to hear me as well. So, because literally you don't have to look at me at all for this. So, all right, cool. Okay, we got a bunch of people. All right. I see GIF came in. All right. Ayomide. Hopefully I said that properly. All right. Jay Abrams. All right. Tejas. All right. All right. Cool. Yayi. All right. Thank y'all for hanging out. All right. Appreciate it. All right. So then I guess, well, hold on, wait, I have way too many tabs open here. Give me a second. All right. Yeah, I think we should probably be good then, I think. Right? What do you think, Aris? Thank you very much, Shabaki. Great.
Go. Yeah, let's do this.
All right, let's do this. Let's light this candle, or whatever they say. All right, cool. So thank you very much for hanging out. Appreciate y'all for coming through. Shouts to Eris and Gift and everybody involved in doing the Cityjs Lagos. And yeah, so my name is Dwayne, and I think weapon corners are awesome. And hopefully you will think so too after this. And I always like to timestamp, time box these talks and workshops, because you know we all do stuff on the web, and we know the web changes, and so I'm always learning new stuff. And so this is as of October 2022, and yeah, so let's get this going. All right, thanks. Let's go here. Cool. Oh, so people are voting. So who's heard of web components? Let me know. You should be able to vote yes or no. All right, very nice. So at least that's working. That's good. All right, glad to see that. Glad to see that. Okay, one person hasn't. Awesome. All right, cool, cool, cool. And so also, so for the people who have heard of web components, I'm gonna need y'all to keep me on the up and up. So if I'm saying deviates from what you know about it, please let me know. Because again, this is as I understand it. And for the folks who don't know, then you know, hopefully we'll you learn some new stuff, and then we can all kind of grow together. All right. Cool.
Wayne, sorry to interrupt you, but since we have everyone here now,
yes,
it's good to mention that in our conference there will be a lot of giveaways.
Oh yes.
The giveaways is from bonnets, right?
Yeah, yeah. We're giving away like a Fitbit, right?
Versa 2. So if the people go to our website later, there is a link where there is a form where they can register for the competition. So just telling them now before we start going into deep knowledge of web components. But yeah,
Nice.
That's for me now. Yep.
Nice. All right, word. If you could put your which camera am I? Oh, I'm on the other camera. It's fine. It's fine. Again, you don't need to see me. All right, cool. Nice. All right, cool. Everybody look like everybody's good. Everybody's good. All right. Thanks everybody for voting. Appreciate you. We're gonna keep it moving now. So I'm glad. So I'm glad to see more and more people are starting to hear about web components. Before it was like nobody, but now throughout the whole year, that number has been going up. So thank you all for casting your vote. All right, so now the goals of this workshop is just kind of give like a general understanding of web components. I'd like to also hopefully show the value in web components and using web components. We're going to go through creating one and how to integrate it in a framework that you will choose later. And then different resources, because don't let this be just the end point of where you stop learning web components if you want to learn more. I'm going to have links to different websites and stuff that you can follow up and learn some more. And then, hey, let me know, hit me up if there's anything that you found interesting as well. So let's keep the conversation going. All right, let me get this thing here. All right, cool, a little bit more space. All right, so does everybody have a GitHub account? It's not necessarily needed, but if you want to save some of the examples that we're going to go through, then you would need a GitHub account to save them. We're going to use like StackBlitz and stuff. So very nice. All right, cool. If not, you can always sign up. I have a link there, and you can do that by the time we get to where we need to get to, because I'm going to kind of go over like the basics of web components. So if not, you can always do it right there. And again, if you have any questions, I'm going to keep an eye on the chat, but there's also a section on that page if you want to just, where you're watching the slides, if you want to just actually just ask it there as well. All right, cool. All right, hopefully it's working for everybody. Thanks again for hanging out. All right, keep it moving. So now, you may be wondering, let's start off, are web components a thing, right? And with it being the web, of course, there's a website for that. And so big shouts to Westbrook J for putting me onto it. Twitter is a pretty cool space, and you get to like connect with a lot of interesting folks. And so shouts to Westbrook J for putting me onto the site. Now, again, the question, are web components a thing yet? Answer, yes. All right, that's all you need to know. But no, I'm kidding. We're going to go through some more interaction. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll down on this page, and well, it might get super noisy because with I like to do these in person, but debating, should we turn off the, like unmute the mic? That's probably a bad idea. But to yourself, or say it out loud where you are, anytime you see a logo of a company that's using web components that you recognize, say ding. All right, so I'm going to scroll down. You're gonna probably hopefully see a company you recognize, then say ding. All right, got it? And again, I would normally maybe like, hey, try to unmute, but let's not do that. That's probably gonna be a terrible idea. All right, so you know what we can do is hit the thumbs up. That's what we can do. Hit the thumbs up if you see a company that you recognize. Shobanki has been hitting up the thumbs up a lot, so word. Not yet, Shobanki. All right, cool. All right, here we go. Anybody? Any of these looking familiar? Some pretty big names here. At least, I don't know. Again, from my point of reference, I live in the US. And so I saw we had people from hopefully Lagos. And I saw India representing as well. It's Lagos, right? Did I say that? I said that wrong, didn't I? It's Lagos. All right. Do we have any thumbs up? Okay, yes. All right, very nice. Okay, I'm seeing a bunch. All right. Okay, cool. It's a lot better and funnier when you hear people saying ding. But we'll do the online version of that. Thumbs ups. All right, cool. So now let's take a look at a couple of examples. So YouTube, quite possibly one of the largest websites on the internet as far as like traffic. If you look at their source code, if you do like view source, you'll notice a lot of YTD hyphen something. And when it's not like a element that you recognize, then it's probably a web component because it's a custom element, which is a part of web components. And so all these YTD things, they do something specifically that YouTube wants to happen. All right, another really cool example is GitHub. We just spoke about them. Have you ever, when you do like a pull request or you merge something or what have you into the repo, you'll see like however many seconds ago or however many time ago. Well, if you look at the actual source code for that, you'll notice that there's a time hyphen ago. And again, it's not really a regular HTML element, thus it's a web component. And what GitHub did, they actually took the work that they did in all those different time-related elements and have it available for anybody to use. And so it's under the GitHub, and the repo is called time-elements. Cool. All right. Yeah, so you can check that out. It's super cool. And so if you've ever dealt with time, you know it's kind of a pain. And so the good folks at GitHub are trying to help with that. All right. So have you ever used like the video elements, the audio elements, or even like the details tag? Like details tag, low key, is like one of my favorite HTML elements because you just by putting the details tag, you get like a fully working drop down. It's kind of amazing. What was always kind of blown my mind was the video and audio elements. Just by putting that tag and the source, you get a fully functional video player and audio player. We didn't have to worry about creating the play pause button, the audio, the volume, didn't have to worry about that. Trying to make it so it's full screen, and there's a little drop down with some more options, and like the thing that, like, I forgot what we call that. It shows you where along the video you are. Didn't have to do any of that. You just have to do video, source, and you got this working. Same thing with the audio. I've always been kind of amazed by that. Now, imagine if you could create your own element, right? But before that, one of the most like amazing web components I've seen with what it can do is the model-viewer tag. And same with like the video and the audio. You just put a source to a 3D model and you're able to interact with it without having to know anything about 3D modeling, WebXR, WebGL, and probably a whole bunch of stuff that I don't even know about that goes into it. You don't have to worry about it. Now you might be like, oh, that's cool, like the low res stuff, right? How can it handle like actual real models? If you go to the link, and again, you'll be able to click, it's interactive, you can check it out. So this is the actual website. And so that astronaut suit was like one of the first models that they had as an example, but they got access to be able to scan Neil Armstrong's spacesuit that went to the moon. And just look at the detail in this thing. Like you see like every wrinkle. Like even the reflections like in the little coupling things here, like they change when you rotate. And even in the reflection, like you see that's like the moon and the earth right there. Like, I don't know, this stuff is super cool. And again, to get it working, you just need a little bit of JavaScript to let the browser know how to handle the actual element when it comes across it. And again, just model-viewer. You put an alt tag because accessibility is important. And then here's the source. Same way like you would put for a video or an audio file. And then there's also some AR stuff. So you could put this in the real world. It's quite possibly like one of the most amazing web components I've seen, and especially the use case. Like it's one of the things where it's like, it hides all the complexities for you. All you have to do is worry about putting the HTML element on your page, include a little bit of JavaScript and point to where the file is, and it does it for you. So yeah, that's that model viewer. I would suggest reading up more on it because you can do a lot of cool stuff. And I was thinking some of the cool stuff that I could do is let's turn it into a WebXR tic-tac-toe game with audio chat. All right, so I'm going to play this video because I can't show you augmented reality here because that would be hard. So, all right, so I'm going to click play. And so what's happening is that I have on the tablet the same using model viewer. I created a tic-tac-toe board, right? And then I'm recording this through my Android phone using Chrome. And so I put it in AR mode. And so that's why you can see it like in the real world. And I'm able to play tic-tac-toe back and forth because they allow you to have like little interactive points. And so I tapped into that on model viewer and I'm able to set like, all right, this X or O goes in this place. And I'm using our Vonage APIs to be able to communicate between the two boards and keep them updated. So like it has like the latest moves on there. And so it's just going back and forth. And then there's a point where a person wins and there's like some confetti and stuff, but you're not gonna be able to see that because the quality has been kind of bad. But if you want to play it for yourself, again, I have it deployed at xoxr.games, and I'm looking to dive deeper into like WebXR. So I'm looking to add more games at some point in the future. So xoxr.games if you want to play WebXR tic-tac-toe with voice chat. Oh, that's also, yeah, you're able to speak with the person you're playing with. So you can have like conversations as, you know, and, you know, trash talk as you're playing tic-tac-toe. All right, cool. So a little bit about me, a little bit more background is that I like to make websites, like side projects, like a lot of side projects. And having to create, when I create a project, I want other people to kind of know what I use to create that project, right? And so I would have like an about page. Like if you check out the myworkshops.live, there's an about page. And so having to create like an about page for each and every one of them would be tedious, right? And just basically become a chore. So I thought, why not try and abstract all that because it's just a repetitive task and make it a web component. And so I did, and that birthed Dwayne-made, right? What the web component does, and it's responsive as well. So it goes for whatever screen size you have, certain things hide and all type of stuff. So what it does is that I have a endpoint on all my projects that kind of detail like what technologies I use, what it's about, and other information. So I just pull that from the endpoint and then I pass it into the web component. And the web component can then go ahead and kind of like style everything and put it where they need to be in the different sections. So like these are like, again, with the details tag, a super useful tag. It will show a little bit of information about what the technologies are and how I use them. There's updates and like more information if you want to reach out, and of course the about. So for me, web components are like a good way to be able to reuse something that I know I don't want to have to keep remaking. Do it once and reuse it a bunch of times. All right. How are we doing? Give me some thumbs up if we're good. Like we're good. Want to make sure we're good. And any questions in the chat? All right. So yes, I use it. Oh, the site's not updating for you? Well, okay, we can always do that afterwards. I think it may be full with the room if you joined late. All right, cool. We're getting some yeses, yeses. Very nice. All right, thank you all once again. All right, cool. Somebody actually joined with the name Anything You Want. That is amazing. Thank you all for having a good sense of humor. Hopefully you laugh at my stupid jokes. All right, cool. So again, one of the reasons why I'm a big fan of web components is that they make things reusable and a lot easier for us to be able to just create without having to worry about like the mundane, the stuff that always has to be done over and over again. All right, so there we go. Now, another favorite element of mine is the humble input, right? Anyone else thought that it's kind of cool that just by changing the type attribute that you get so many uses out of just one actual little element, right? And then someone said web components, build it once, use it every time. Exactly. That's a great slogan. You should submit that. That's a good slogan. So, like I was saying, just a couple of things, like the date, time, local. Imagine having to create like a fully working calendar that highlights the current date. And then having like even like selecting the time, local time, and then being able to select it. And like you don't have to do any of that. Like it's all within just by setting on the input the date, time, hyphen logo for the type. Ones we already seen like buttons, the radio. We also have like the checkbox. Now color. I couldn't even imagine what sort of CSS wizard would have to go into to make this like gradient. Just imagine what you'd have to do to be able to just to make this work. And you don't have to imagine because you don't have to worry about it because all you have to do is have an input element and turn the type into color and you have that and it will select it for you. I don't know. I think that's kind of amazing. And if you want to like add a file to your project or whatever, you can do that as well. And just the regular text. And another cool one is the range, which is also pretty cool. So again, another reason why I really like web components is that because you can create something and have a multiple uses just with that one thing. All right. So now, along with being able to use having multi-use, I created yet another web component because that's a thing I do. And you may have noticed it on the site that we went to it. Depending on when you went to the site, there was like a countdown. If there wasn't a countdown, because this is what the site looks like, it would actually show the time of the event in your local time zone. So I was starting to work with a lot of different projects that required working with time. And so, like I said before, and like with the GitHub repo, working with time can be kind of a pain. And so I was like, I'm just going to do this one time, have this web component fit every use case that I need it for, and I can always add it later as well, and just make it work, do the hard work now, and so I don't have to do it later. So I created Dwayne-timer, and I can just set a time using the UTC, like, the milliseconds since like 1970 or something like that. Put that in, and it will show, it will show the date and the time of the event in the person's local time when they go to when it shows up on their website. And so like you can see here, this is another one of my random websites. And so it shows like when the actual next event is happening. And with, you might not be able to see, but it says like America-New York, because that's the time zone I'm in. And so if you go there, which you can probably test it out now, the website is untilit.works. It's just a website that I every Sunday, I kind of do like a group study session thing to where I have a lot of stuff I need to work on or that I want to work on. And so for me to actually be able to work on it, I need to set time aside to work on it. And so I created this thing. I figured maybe it could help other people. And so it's just like a little study session, like Pomodoro. So it's like a 45-minute focus, then 15 minutes, you can come and talk about whatever you found interesting on the internet. It's kind of like it's like a break. And then you go back 45 minutes. And so it's just kind of a thing there. So I will post a link to this as well. But yeah, so if you were to, let me post a link to the website. Enter. Cool. So yeah, so if you want to check out the website, I just posted a link. It's untilit.works because you work on it till it works. So that's the whole point behind that. And then it should show you the time in your time zone. All right. If you do go to it, check it out. Let me know if it shows it in your time zone. But again, this is just a web component. And so I have it to also, you can set like a time limit. And once that time limit is reached, it will automatically turn into a countdown timer. And it will count down to when the next, to when that time limit is, like when the deadline is met. And so just with that one web component, I can actually show the date in the person's local time and turn it into a countdown timer if I so choose to kind of show when we're about to go live. So I created another site. Again, I create random projects. Another one is Twitter Spaces. Twitter Spaces is pretty cool since it's come out. And I actually had someone ask me, how do I find my the Twitter Spaces I join? And it's basically by luck. And so I was like, I wonder if there's a way to be able to search for Twitter Spaces. And so I found out that in their API, you can do it. And so I created yet another website. Let me put this in the, if you're interested in finding out about, oh yeah, the Hako. Hakos are pretty cool. Maybe we'll talk about that. Hako stands for Help a Coder / Creator Out. And you can kind of like create your own room. So if you're stuck on a project, you can create a room. It gives you your own unique URL. You can go ahead and send that out to people, and then they can join the room and you can share your screen. And like the hope is that by sharing the screen and showing the thing you're getting stuck on, or maybe the thing you want feedback on, people can like help you out by seeing what you're stuck with. And I have like audio chat, just like I have here, text chat, whole bunch of stuff. So if you want to check it out, you can come on by on whatever time it says on the website for you. But yeah, find my next.space. So let's look up something, I don't know, dev. Dev, I think, brings up a lot. So you can just click that. And so what happens is it searches the Twitter API for any spaces that have dev in the title or is mentioned or something like that. And so, as you can see here, so like I was saying, you can see the countdown timer because the hour, I think I have it set for an hour. The time limit has been met. So that means it's going to happen within an hour. So it shows you a countdown timer. Anything more than an hour, it shows you the actual date and time in your local time zone. And so, yeah. Cool. So yeah, so that's just another one you can check out and stuff. All right, cool. Let me close some of these out. So yeah, so again, being able to use the same web components like reusable, but also being able to get multiple uses out of that reusability, I think is super cool with web components. All right, now, for more examples in like collections, again, I have links to other things so you can learn more about it and find out more. Because again, don't let it stop here. You know, let's keep this going and hopefully can spread the awareness about web components and how awesome they are. All right, cool. So I got some links here. So MDN, really cool website. I might as well take a look at it. And then webcomponents.org, another cool website. All right, so MDN, they have a whole bunch of different kinds here. And so all sorts of stuff here. So you can go ahead and check out, because there's different ways of creating web components, and we'll look at that as well. But there's so many different types. So there's that. And then webcomponents.org is kind of like pretty much like a good go-to for an overall on web components. So they have like different elements here, featured collections, and then like if you need polyfills for stuff, but then like the browser support, which I think we'll talk about later, but you can see, spoiler, that pretty much in all modern browsers, web components are good. All right, cool. So, all right, so that's that. So more stuff you can check out. Oh, also, if you can't check out the afterwards, you'll be able to scroll through the, if you can't like, if the website's not updating for you, you'll be able to go back afterwards and scroll through the slides. All right, cool. Yes, we're actually going to make a web component. So thank you, JB, for foreshadowing what we're going to be working on. All right, cool. Yeah, let's keep it moving. So now, our web component is getting cooler. I saw some people saying it's awesome. So let me know what are y'all thinking. What's your thoughts in the chat or by voting? Hopefully it's going to work, or I don't know if it got overloaded. Okay, we're getting votes. All right, cool. Nice. Nice, it's great. All right, thank you. Thank you very much. All right, getting some votes. All right, all right. Yes, all right, nice. Where are we at? All right, we got a bunch of time. That's fine. Super cool, very nice, nice. All right. Thank you all again for interacting. Appreciate y'all. Again, doing these things like virtually is kind of tough. I try to make it as interactive as possible, but nothing beats like being there with folks. So All right. Yeah, cool. Oh, you just have to go to the website, Raji, but it might be like full, so you might not be able to, but it's cool. I can see your thing here, so thank you very much. All right. Here we go. Now, let's talk about, so we talked about some use cases, who's using them, some of my own personal stuff. Let's talk about what actually makes a web component. All right. So there are 3 technologies. There used to be 4, but it's now built into like the browser, so we don't need them anymore, ES modules. But there are like 3 main ones now that kind of like put together create web components. All right. So there's the custom elements API, and that's the naming. So how there's like Dwayne-made, Dwayne-timer, time- what was it, elements, I think it was, or like time ago, the YTD hyphen stuff, all those things that falls under the custom elements. All right. We have the shadow DOM. The shadow DOM, think of that as like your own pocket universe that lives with inside of your web component, where you can do whatever it is that you want to do inside of it. All right. So it's like your own little universe inside your web component. And HTML templates, which is pretty low key, a super cool thing that you may want to use anyway. And we'll talk about that more. So HTML templates. So first up, let's talk about the custom elements. So custom elements, for one thing to know is that they have to have a hyphen in it, right? So it's also called a kebab case, or some people may call it like a dash. So that's because you can't have single words, because single words are reserved for the web platform itself. Because otherwise you may have people creating their own like image IMG tags, or like the input tag, or what have you, or a video tag. And so you have to have a hyphen in there. So that's one stipulation or one requirement for it. All right. Oh, I appreciate that, JB. Appreciate you. Thank you very much. All right. Cool. Also, what it does is that you have a class. And for folks who are maybe, old school like React, or just even in JavaScript in general, you have a class that describes the behavior of what your web component does, right? And so in that, you put all the different things that the web component is supposed to be doing, all right? And then you can also like extend like HTML elements. So if you have an idea for a new button and you want to extend it and have all the goodness that already come with the button, then you can build on top of the HTML button elements and add on top of that. And so the custom elements API helps you do all that. And so in kind of like summary, you define the behavior of your web component through a class, and then the custom elements API then takes the name that you chose with the hyphen in it and attaches that to the behavior that's described in the class. All right. And so when the browser loads that JavaScript, there's the custom API that's like, all right, when the browser sees this new tag that it's never seen before, it doesn't have to worry because, hey, this JavaScript tells it what to do when it sees that tag. All right. So that is what the custom elements API does. All righty. Up next is the shadow DOM.
Hey, I'm sorry, John. Can you go back to the previous slide once again?
Yes. Which slide?
Right. Yes, the previous one.
That one?
No. After that.
Okay, the custom elements.
Yeah. Just a second.
Oh, you're good? All right. Thanks. All right, cool. I'm gonna keep it moving. Appreciate you. All right, up next. So Shadow DOM. Again, it provides encapsulation. So you can think of it as a way of like your own, like almost like your little universe that you have. And it sits inside your web component, right? And your web component is only really concerned about what's happening inside that little universe, right? And so a good way of kind of a good way of putting it was said by Paul Lewis, and I have a link to the video. He kind of talks about it, it contains the gross. So all the logic and all that stuff that's in your web component, it lives in the shadow DOM. Now the outer application that your web component in is called the light DOM. So that's why there's like light DOM, shadow DOM. So you can see it kind of lives in the shadows, kind of like eerie. It's Halloween, so it's everything's in the shadows. You never know what's happening in the shadows. So yeah, again, it contains the gross. And another cool thing about the shadow DOM is that if you want, because you can send, we're going to talk about it more, but you can send events to let the light DOM know about what's happening in the shadow DOM in your web component through events, right? And so instead of just sending like a boring like click, like if somebody clicked, let's say you have a voting app, right? And somebody clicks an option. Well, you can send the click outside of your web component so that the outer application knows that a click happened, but you can remap the events to something more meaningful. So instead of just being a click, you can say, oh, it's a vote, so that your outer application can then listen for votes as an event instead of just a click, because then you're like, well, which click? Because it could have been another button or something. You know what I mean? So that way you can kind of remap the event names to something more meaningful to the outer application. Yeah, cool. So there's that. HTML templates, again, this is a super cool one that you can even use without web components. Because again, these are just like browser-based web technologies. It's all in the web already. And so template is an actual tag, template tag. And if you put that in your HTML, what will happen is so you could have a whole bunch of stuff in your template tag, between your template tags, right? The browser will like ignore it. So it's as if it's not even there. And so what we do is you pull some JavaScript to be able to take that HTML and then do something with it. So otherwise it's totally ignored by the browser. So if you don't need to use it, it doesn't matter. It doesn't affect anything. It's just ignored by the browser. So that's pretty cool. And now if you have like a complex template, then you may want to use like a library. And we're going to talk about that later as well. All right. So HTML templates, you put a template tag in your HTML, the browser ignores it until you use some JavaScript to then draw attention to it. And you can, create other elements with it using that templates. And we're going to have an example of that later. So hopefully that was cool. All right. So like I said, we're going to do an example. Let me, so before we do that, let me double check, make sure we're all cool. Yes, we're going to be building one. Awesome. Yeah, so we're going to do like a vanilla JavaScript example right now. So they're kind of like examples. So like image, input, image, video, audio, they're kind of like in like web components, but they're built into the browser. So they're standard. Like web components are things that we can create and use. And so, but those are like examples of what you can do with like web components. So yeah. All right, cool, good. I think we're caught up so far. Good, no questions on my side, my dashboard. All right, here we go. So created this web component. You should be able to see it as well. And if you want, you can also, it's a code pen. So if you want to edit it and check it out for yourself, you can as well there. But let's take a look at the HTML. So we have the title, everything that goes into the head. Cool. Now, so we have an H1 here. Who's the greatest group of all time? And it's green because in the CSS, I have H1, the color to be green. All right. And I have the font spacing and stuff. It's fine. Not important. And then you'll notice that we have the input here, which is the group sub input, which is here. And sub is like submission. All right. And then we have the button, group sub button, and you can submit here. And you'll notice that we also have this goat hyphen group. Now that's not a normal that you probably come across web element ever, right? So that's a good indication that it's probably a web component. All right. And so we have the goat hyphen group, and then we have this attribute guess. And then it's set to nothing right now because there isn't a guess. Like if I wanted to set one up, I could put that in there to kind of like initialize it, but we don't have a guess. We're gonna leave that blank. And then you see I have like this little thinking face here, little emoji. And that's you can put things in between your web components and then use that inside of your web component. They're called slots. And we may touch on that. So if I could in the chat and then we have some JavaScript, which is we'll talk about soon. All right, cool. Now let me get some guesses for the greatest group of all time. And I'm interested in what y'all say. You can either put it in the chat room or put it as a question. Oh yeah, you'll get a link. You can come after this because you logged in. You'll be able to, as long as I keep paying the bill for the website, you'll be able to go back and log in again and go through the slides. And if you want to edit the CodePen now, you can actually do that by just clicking edit on CodePen, and it'll open it up for you so you can check it out. All right, Westlife. All right, Joliffe gang. All right, so okay, let's go with Westlife. WESTLIFE, submit. Nope. And then Westlife, they're okay, I guess. And Joliffe, JOLLO.
The roots.
Of course, you say the roots. Nice. Gang.
Pronounced jollof.
Jollof.
Yeah.
It's like a rice or something, right? It's like a meal.
Rice. Yeah.
Rice. Nice. I'll have to check it out. I'm vowing to be able to come out there at some point, and it's Lagos, right? Well, I have used Lagos.
Next year, Dwayne.
Yes, we're gonna make it happen. My schedule's been like all over the place, but yeah, definitely we have to make sure to make it happen. And again, sorry, Jollof gang, nope. They're okay, I guess. And then of course the roots. Let's go with that. Submit. And nope. Of course, we all know the greatest group of all time is Outkast. Again, I'm from the South, so just take that with a grain of salt. And yeah, so then, yep, click OK. Outkast, you're right. Also, I wanted to kind of draw attention that, oh, you want to write your name? All right, let me put JB in here. All right, put JP. All right, submit. Nope, sorry, not the greatest of all time. But yeah, I also want to kind of draw your attention that you can click the link and that turned red. All right, that's gonna be important when we go through the JavaScript, but just kind of look at that. Not yet, exactly. I like your thinking, not yet. All right, so yes. All right, so just notice that it turned red. Cool. So let's take a look at the JavaScript where all these things happen. So now, like I said, the outer application is called the light DOM. And so the way I structure my JavaScript is like, I'd like to get references to all the different things at the top and then call it later. So we have, oh, I have a bunch of, okay, sorry. A lot of things are ringing. Hopefully you didn't hear that. So we have the group submit input, again, which is this one here. Then we have the group submit button, which is this here again. And then if you notice, because if there's one thing that you get from this workshop is that web components are just like any regular HTML element that you can use in your projects. It's just that you need a little bit of JavaScript so that the browser knows what's happening. But you can get the same reference, the same way you would do any other regular one with the same query selector. So nothing special needed there. So to get the group here, which is kind of like all of this here, you just do document. You can do, I do query selector because it's a little bit more general for me. So like if I want an ID, I can do that. If I want a class, I put a period in front of it. Or if I just want the name of the actual, like the tag, I can just put it in there as well. You can put an ID on it, I believe, and then do get element by ID if that's what you like, if that's what you're into. All right, cool. So then, like I said, it's just putting a, so when you submit your guess on the group submit button, I have an event listener for the click. And then what's going to happen is going to console log whatever the value was in there. I'm a big fan of console logs. Probably if you go to a lot of my side projects, there's probably all sorts of console logs in there, but neither here nor there. Cool. Yeah, so I'm not sure how to pronounce your name, but UGOCHUKWU. Yeah, so it's like having a custom function, but then be able to take that, wrap it into an element, and then taking that wherever you want and what other projects that you want. So instead of having to rewrite the function over and over again, you just put the HTML tag, the custom elements tag, and then you're good to go. All right, cool. So again, what we're going to do is here's the console log. Now check this out, the group, goat group elements, again, which so we got a reference by just doing the query selector. Just like I said, it's a, just you can treat it just as a regular HTML element. We're setting an attribute. And remember the attribute was guess right here. So we're setting that programmatically with the input value that was placed into here. And then we're clearing the input value. All right, so that all happens when you click submit. Cool. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to listen for the custom event dispatch. And I'll show you how we create it from the web component. So on the window object, I'm adding an event listener for guest. All right. And so then that's why the alert pops up. All right. So that's why when you type in Outcast, that is why this pops up, is because the outer application, the window object, saw that there was an event called guest, and then it did the alert box, which is this here. And it has some details that was passed up with the event. Cool. All right, that does. And then here, I could have like created the template inside of the HTML. Like I could have done a template tag here, but I decided I was in the JavaScript, so I might as well do that there. So I'm creating the template element. And so I'm creating the element template. And then inside the template, I'm putting a slot, the H1, and a div with an ID verdict. All right, so what we have here, remember how the little thinking face right here, I mentioned that was a slot. So that is your slot there. And you can have name slots, so you can have multiple things in there. But that's, again, I have links, you'll be able to find out more about that. This is just a basic example. So we have this slot here. And wherever I put slot, that is where that thing will show up. So the little thinking face shows up there. All right. The H1, again, is right here. And then we have the verdict, right? And which is this here, you're right, or nope, and whatever I said, they're okay, I guess. All right. So that is that there. So that is the template tag. Again, is just the browser doesn't even care about it, but we'll show how we bring that in later. All right, so now here is that same class that I was talking about before in the custom elements API. This defines kind of like the behavior of our goat-group web components. And so what we do is we're going to get, so it extends the HTML elements. All right, so like I said before, you can extend elements. So if you want to extend like the button elements, you can. HTML element is kind of like the base that all other elements are based on. So a lot of times in your examples, unless they're specifically trying to extend a certain type of element, you'll see just the HTML element as a baseline for a lot of web components. Cool. And then here we're going to use the static attribute to get observed attributes. So it's a static like function, static get function. And what's going to happen is you return an array of strings of the attributes that you want to observe. So observe attributes. All right. So yeah, so we only have the one. So we just have a single item array of the string guess. All right. Then constructor. So again, if you're familiar with like old school, not old school, but the previous versions of like React, you may have had to do constructors. And like one of the first things to do in a constructor, and again, this is just vanilla JavaScript, is you want to do super. And I don't know if it stands for maybe like superimpose or something, but it's basically you're getting all like the superpowers and the goodness coming from like that HTML element. So like all the methods, properties, everything is now a part of your web component just by putting the super. And remember when I said that the template tag is basically ignored until you do some JavaScript to bring it in? That's what we're going to do here. So we're going to clone we're going to import the node template, which is what we have here. And then true is like to make it open, I think, something like that. So again, you can check it out and let me know. But I'm pretty sure to kind of like make it open that you can do stuff with the template. Then we're going to use some shadow DOM stuff because we want to attach that template into our web component. And again, it's the shadow DOM, remember? So what we're going to do is this dot attach shadow. So we're going to attach whatever's inside into it. And then we're going to make the mode open. Depending on whether or not you want the outer application to be able to access your web component. So that's what the mode is. A lot of times you want to make it open just because you want people to be able to kind of interact. Like if you have a method that you want to call from the web component from the outside, then you would want to make that open. Otherwise, you can make it closed and nobody will be able to do anything inside your web component. Then we're going to append the child, just like in regular JavaScript, like when you're like appending to the document or to whatever, you can append the child that same clone, which is the template tag that we created before. All right, so that's what that does. Cool. And then now we're going to add an event listener to our web components. So when you hear the click, which is this here, like when there's a click on the web component, inside the web component, it's going to turn the color, this style color, red. So that's why, again, this turned red. So that's why I was kind of calling out before. When I clicked it, it turned red, and that's because of this event listener happening with inside the web components. All right, hopefully that's cool. I'm just going to check for any example. Cool. Let me get some thumbs up if this is cool so far, if we're good. Because I don't see any questions, so hopefully it's good. All right, cool, good. All right, thank you very much. And I'm just realizing there's probably a delay with the video, if you're watching the video, and between me actually doing stuff. So I forgot about that, so I'm going to keep that in mind. All right, cool. So yeah, so that's again, turn it red is because of this event listener. So you can add event listeners into your web component because again, it's just like regular JavaScript. Now, here, again, if you're familiar with React or pretty much any framework, there's life cycles, right? And so there's one called the connected callback, and that happens when your web component is attached to the DOM. Basically, that's when it's, lifecycle callbacks invoked each time your custom element is appended to the DOM. So anytime it shows up in the project, in the page, so it can be called multiple times if you have multiple instances of your web component. If you use it a bunch of times, this will be called a bunch of times. And so to kind of show it, I console log goat group connected. And then I'm setting the style color to be blue. That's why it was blue initially. When I rerun it, I can rerun it, hopefully. And let's go with the outcast again. So that's why it's blue, because I'm setting the color to be blue. So inside the connected callback, you can do a lot of the setting up that you want. Now you need to make sure that there is a thing there to set up on top of. All right, cool. Here's another life cycle, the attribute change callback. Oh, there's a bunch of them. So there's one for like, I think right before it gets appended to the DOM, when it is appended to the DOM, when it's removed from the DOM. I think in the webcomponents.org, I think they might have links to being able to find out where to all the different life cycles. So thank you, Oa Desina. Oa Desina. All right. Yes. So yeah, there's a bunch of them. So pretty much any step throughout the process, there's probably a life cycle that you can like listen out for. Then attribute change callback. So again, it's going to have the name of the attribute. In our case, we only have one, guess, and it's going to be the old value and the new value. All right. So now this happens when, remember, when you click this submit button at the top here, remember, we're setting that attribute guess to be the value of the input. So that is going to trigger that attribute change callback. All right. And so it already knew the old value, which was like nothing. We just empty space. And then the new value is the actual input value. Now, and again, I have another console log. You can check that out. If the new value, which was the submitted value, I have it to where if you didn't submit anything, it doesn't do anything really, right? But then if that value, and I lowercase everything because I didn't want to have to deal with casing. If it's equal to outcast, then what's going to happen is that the shadow root. So if you want to pinpoint something within your web component, there is no like document. So there's this.shadow root. And from there, you can do a query selector. And then you can put like the H1 or get element by ID or however you want to get the reference to the elements. And then I'm setting the inner text to that to be. And so here I'm kind of transforming it. So I'm taking that new value and how I lowercase it here, I'm just going to uppercase it with a bunch of exclamation points. And that's what we have here. All right, cool. And then I'm also setting, getting a reference to the verdict. Remember the verdict in our template was the div ID verdict here. And I'm setting the inner text of that to your right. So that's why it says there. All right. And I'm also dispatching a new custom event. Because remember, with the Shadow DOM API, you can dispatch events. And so custom event is a thing on the web anyway. So it's nothing like particular to web components. But web components are based on web standard technology. So we're just pulling things that are already there, packaging them together, and that creates web components. All right. So so what we're doing, we're dispatching an event. Right. So that means it's going to go outside of the web component. And so the type is a new custom event. And this is where we're doing that remapping. And so we're setting that to be guest. Right. And so we have a detail. The yup is what you saw when the alert box came up. It bubbles. That's saying that it bubbles through the component. So if we have like multiple layers, then it can like other layers on top of that could also get the event. And then composed is that it crosses into the light DOM or the outer application. All right. So that's what these things are doing here. And again, these are just, you can just look up dispatched event and custom event, and it'll be the same thing. There's nothing specific towards web components. You can do this in your own special like projects, except the into the light DOM stuff. Because I'm pretty sure if you just have your thing, it's just gonna be light DOM. All right, cool. Otherwise, that means that if there is no guess, we know what to do. If it's the right guess, we know what to do. Otherwise, it's the wrong guess, or not the guess that I think the greatest group. Again, it's my own personal preference. And so what we're doing is we're going to take the same reference for the H1. We'll put the value in there with the question mark and exclamation point. And then we're going to have the for the verdict and say they're okay, I guess. And then we're going to dispatch another event. That's why I said nope, and then true and true again for bubbles and composed. And that is what happens when the attribute changes when we click the submit button. All right. So that's all that in there. And then when we want to, like, if you want to remove the web component from the DOM, then there's a disconnected callback. So this is where you would like clean up anything that can maybe cause a memory leak. So if you have like a set timer or something that kept kind of going, if you don't stop it inside this connected callback, it'll keep going and stuff like that. Event listeners, all that other stuff. This is where you would clean it up. All right. And then, like I said, with the custom elements API, it takes all this logic that's in this class and it attaches it to your custom element name that you created. So goat-group. So that all that happens here. The custom elements .define goat-group. So it's the name and the behavior or the functionality of it. And that kind of wraps everything all up. Cool. All right. So that is that. Let me see if there's any questions. Inner HTML is dangerous. So if you don't trust, like if it's a user generated thing, then yeah, I wouldn't do it. But if it's what you're doing and you need to, sure, it should be fine. Like again, it's just like what you would normally do with inner HTML. It also applies to web components. Yeah, so I did do the template in the JS side here. So I just kind of created it here. So that way I know, like I'm creating it here. This is not being generated by anybody else. So that's why I use the inner HTML. So hopefully that, JB, hopefully that answered your question. And again, there's probably a delay. So yeah. All right. Cool. So that is all of that. Oh, also, I wanted to kind of call out. So remember, this is an H1 from the HTML. So it's H1 here, but also that we have an H1 here as well. And you notice that when I change the color to be blue here, it didn't leak out into the light DOM outer application and turn that blue. Even when I click this to turn it red, notice that the H1 tag on the outside and the light DOM also didn't turn red. And that's part of the whole shadow DOM in your own pocket universe. That's the whole containing the gross. So that stuff doesn't leak out unless you want it to. All right, like as far as like events and things. So stuff like that stays inside of there. So that's a cool, good thing about it. All right, cool. Now, let's talk about kind of like overall structure of like web components. So you have your custom element here that's sitting inside of the user's application, aka the light DOM. All right, and again, you have like your little pocket universe thing in here. Now, to interact with it, you can set properties and attributes on your custom elements, just like how we had the guests on the goat-group. That's like the properties and attributes that you can set. You can also do it programmatically through JavaScript by getting a reference and setting it that way as well. That things that come outside of the elements, like we just saw with the guest, it's a custom event that can kind of come out of your web component that the outer application can listen for, like how we did on the window object, and then we had the alert. All right. Now, you may have methods inside of your web component that you want to be able to call from the outside application. And so once you get the reference to it, you're able to call different methods on your web component and have it do things. All right. So this is kind of like an overall structure and how things kind of flow in and out of the web component. All right. Cool. So now our web component is still cool. Let me know in the poll while I go and look to see if there's any other examples, any questions or anything. Nothing yet. All right, cool. I think we're getting a bunch of thumbs up. Thank you very much. Let's see. I have to remember that there are like a delay. All right, I'm gonna keep moving. Thanks again to everybody voting. All right, so now let's talk about some of the tools, because what we just did was seem like a lot of boilerplate, right? Just to be able to show whether it's not someone's the greatest group of all time. And that is like, imagine if your template got even more complex and you had to get reference to all these other different parts and having to change things, right? It could get kind of complex. So if you ever done anything like programming, you'll know that once things start to get really complex for a bunch of people, people start to create tools because it becomes a problem for a lot of people. And the web is an amazing place where people will create tools to help other people. One of the big reasons why I'm a big fan of the web. All right, so let's talk about some of these tools. So now, I'm a big fan of doing a lot of things on the internet. I don't want to clutter up my local machine with a bunch of like just random projects and things I've been testing out, right? So if I can find a website to do stuff that I want to just like do a quick test thing with, I'm a big fan of that. So there's a website called webcomponents.dev. All right. And so, like I said, the only online IDE for web components. Cool. So with it, you can build components, push to Git, and publish to NPM all without all the hassle. And we're going to do that. We're actually going to be using webcomponents.dev. All right. Then you can start now. And so here are some of the different things you can do. Now, I'm going to ask y'all, how many different ways do you think there are to be able to create web components? How many different like tools have people created to help other people create web components? You can go ahead and put, I guess, put it in the chat here, or maybe even put it as a question on the page. Yeah, web components are similar to like Angular components. Angular has a thing called Angular elements, which you can take Angular components and then wrap them to be actual web components that you can use in other frameworks. So that's the cool thing. 8, okay, that's a good guess. So yeah, so the Angular components, React components, Vue components, it's kind of like taking that logic, wrapping it in like its own like custom elements, and then being able to use that in Vue, in React, in Angular, or just by themselves in regular JavaScript. So kind of like taking the same idea, but expanding it to where you can use it in other places. So yes. All right, so we got like 8. Cool. Ionic has one. Yes, Ionic can also create one. Yep, exactly. It's called Stencil. Stencil is a really good option as well. Millions, yes. Sometimes it feels like that. More than 10. All right. We're doing like prices right here. Okay. All right. So if you scroll down, it'll tell you like there's 64 different ways as of on whatchamacallit, on webcomponents.dev that you can create. So at least there's at least 64. All right. And they're pretty good about keeping things updated. So so yeah, all the ways to make it. So yeah, so a bunch of stuff here, and then other things that have been created from, because like other, I think I showed them on the list. Adobe, they have their own set of web components that they created, and then there's a whole bunch of stuff here. Cool. All right, good. All right, so again, you can click the link webcomponents.dev. Now let's go ahead and take a look at one of the like starter projects. All right, so what's cool is with webcomponents.dev, they show how to create the same web component in all the different tools. And so that way, they're all one thing, a counter. And when it's a counter, why I believe they chose that is because you can modify, you can have like click event list, like event listeners on there, so they do stuff, and they also change a value. So those are pretty much the kind of things that you're going to want to do with your web component. So like be able to interact and be able to change things inside of it. So like values of stuff. So that's why I believe they chose a counter. So now this is just a vanilla, just JavaScript example. So kind of similar to what we did. So you can see, again, they're creating a template tag, adding a bunch of stuff to the template tag, right? And then here is the class that describes the behavior of their component, which is called myCounter, right? And so again, they're sending the HTML element. There's a constructor, there's a super. They're setting some initial values for some of the attributes or some of the variables in there. Let's see here. And then here's a connected callback. So they're appending the template to the shadow root so they can be used. And then they're adding like functionality to the buttons here. So see that they're using the get element by ID. So for increment is this button here that you can see right here, the ID, INC, and the decrement here. So when you click them, they fire these functions, which are here. And so we still have that count from here. And so when it does, we're updating it. An update takes the count that we just increased by 1 here, put it into here, and then it's going to update it here. And then you can use inner text here as well. If you're funny, like you're wary about the inner HTML, you can use that here. But again, you control that. So it's not really a big deal. There's no way of inputting anything into here, right? So it's just changing the value here. And so that's pretty much what we've seen before. And to kind of like summarize, to wrap everything up, we have the custom elements.define again, and it's the name of your element that you have. Again, remember there's a hyphen in there or a dash. And then we're tying that name to the behaviors of the web component there. And then you can click a link to the actual project if you want to check it out. All right, cool. So that's that one. Now, again, that's for like simpler like templates. Now, oh, okay, this one's pretty cool too. Another tool, which is pretty awesome, is that open web components. So like we just saw, there's like 64 different ways of creating web components, right? At least 64 different ways. Now, if you're on a team and everybody's just creating web components with whatever tools and stuff, you know, that can be kind of a pain, right? That can be like, wait, what are you doing here with this and whatever, right? So to kind of take away all that, especially if you're on a team, there's open web components, open-wc.org. And so they provide a bunch of the tools and things that you already there for you that you can scaffold the project so that everybody's on the same page, right? So if we take a look at the website, you can see some of the stuff that they offer. And so let's see. Somewhere there they said like they take away all the stuff so you don't have to worry about it. But they have, okay, so in the guides, so you can test your web components. They tell you how to do that. There's a getting started, going build list. There's all these different cool things that you can do as a starting point. So if you're on a team of folks and you just want to like not have to worry about what everyone is doing and how things are structured, OpenWC is like a CLI tool, and it'll just scaffold the project for you. And so everybody can start from the same place. And it uses as like the templating like engine to kind of like put everything together. It uses a lit, which is built by like Google, and we'll take a look at that soon also. Now, it's cool that you just created your web component, but you want people to be able to use it, or maybe you want to be able to use it in your own project that's not just local to your machine. So what you do is you'll publish it to npm, and npmjs.com is the website. And so if you've ever like npm I or npm installed something, it's pulling it from npmjs.com servers, and so that you can use it in your project. And so it's going to the same thing with your web components. You can store them on npm.js. I'm sure you could probably do the same thing for Yarn and everything. I haven't really looked into it. I just use npm, and it just pulls it in, and you're good to go. All right. Did I hear somebody on mute, or we're good? All right. Let me double check. Are there any questions? Oh yeah, you may have showed up late. Sorry about that. So it's probably like full. So there's like a limit to the amount of things. But yeah, stencil is cool. But it is by Ionic. So yeah, and you were close, El Dorado. Let's see here. You joined too late. Like the number of connections got full. I'm working on a way to try and increase that, but we'll see. But for right now, I'm sorry, you have to like look at the screen. Sorry about that, Wani. All right, cool. We got that. Good. All right. So again, if you want to publish it so other people can use, or if you want to use it in your other project, you can do that as well. npm install. All right, cool. Now, if you don't want to npm install, let's say like, because in CodePen, you can't like npm install packages, right? So a way around that is to use content delivery networks. And so what they are like mirrors of npm.js, so that you don't have to npm install. You can just link to the file that they have on their servers and use it that way without having to worry about whether or not you can install. Now, that's pretty cool if you ever want to kind of keep up with the latest. So if you're making a bunch of changes to your web component, you can actually just keep pulling the newest version that way instead of having to npm install again and overwriting it. So that's a pretty cool way of doing that. But you can also, depending on the CDN, the content delivery network, you can pin the version that you want. So if you have a version that is working for you, you can pin that one, regardless of whatever is happening with the future versions of that web component. It will just stay at that version for you until you're ready to upgrade. And here are some examples: JS Deliver, skypack.dev, and unpackage.com. So you may have seen some of these in your travels through the internet and programming. All right, cool. So now how about let's build one. All right, we've seen a bunch of examples. We kind of built one. Let's actually do one for real. All right, so now this is a web component I actually built for work. And so, like I said, Vonage does a lot of communication stuff. And one of the communication things is being able to make phone calls. And so I thought it'd be cool, instead of having to create a dial pad over and over again, with having to put the input and having the buttons and having to listen for the buttons and all these things. Again, reusability. I wanted to be able to just do that one time, put it under VC keypad. And so instead of having to do all those different UI elements again, I can just put the VC keypad and have the stuff that I need there, right? So my first thought was being able to use it for phone calls. So you'd be able to type in a phone number, hit enter, and it will call the phone number, right? Because again, that's what we do at Vonage. We have the communication. But I was thinking, well, wait, I could do a bunch of things. So what if I wanted to enter in a key code for like for something to open up, like, you know, putting in like a dial pad or what have you. You can use it for that. And we also help with that. We can send those digits to somewhere to verify and all these things. And like two-factor authentication as well. We could also use it for like, if there's like a quiz application and you wanted to be able to enter in the actual like answer or maybe the choice, you can do that as well. So there's a bunch of uses. So again, one component, multiple uses, a good use case for web components. So created VC-keypad. And then I use the same OpenWC to kind of scaffold the project, and it uses lit to add like the functionalities, like the behaviors and all that stuff. Some of the properties, remember, those are the properties that go in. You can set the placeholder, which is the text that shows up there. You can modify the keys for what they show there. The action text is what shows up in the button, like that's like the action button. There's a cancel text that when an action is happening and you want to stop it, you can set that text also. If you don't want the asterisk, you can set that there, so it won't show it. Same thing with the hashtag. And if you don't want the display, you can put in the node -display and it won't show it. Now, there's a method on there because you want to be able to, the whole point is being able to type in something and then like create an action, right? And so there's a method to create an action. And then when you click it again, it will stop the action. All right. And then we have some custom events. So there's the digit added. So every time you click one, an event is sent out so that you can listen for your thing for the digit that's been added. Now, when you hit the enter or whatever you want to name it, it sends a digit sent. So it sends all those digits as one time, and then the action ended as well. It lets you know when the action has been completed or what have you. All right, so that's that. And then to kind of like review, we have the properties and attributes going into our custom element. Coming out of it is our custom events. And then we have the methods that we can call upon it to make it do stuff. All right, inside of the user's application or in the light DOM. All right, cool. So nice little review. And again, I use OpenWC to create the scaffolding, and then lit to actually kind of like, this is one of those tools that help with like templates that may be kind of a lot. So complex templates. Cool. How am I doing on time here? Okay, cool. All right, cool. We're about like an hour in or hour and a half in. All right, we're good. We're good. So now here we have, so I took my VC keypad, put it into webcomponents.dev so that you all can check it out. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this in a new tab because I'm logged in and I don't want to like overwrite stuff. So what I'm going to do is I opened it up here. Let me close some of these other tabs. Close this, close this. So here we are, right? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to fork this so that we can kind of mess around with it. Where is it? Where's the fork? Yes. What am I doing? Is it, did they move it on me? Give me a second here. There's a way of forking stuff. Give me a second. I will figure this out. Not under share. No. It's not. Did they make it change the duplicate? Maybe. Okay, duplicating the project. That's what it was. Could have sworn I said like fork before. Neither here nor there. All right, we're gonna keep it moving. So
my own is better. What I saw your face.
Showbank, we can hear you. So maybe if you could mute, please. Appreciate you. Thank you very much. All right, so we're importing from lit HTML, CSS, and lit elements. Because what we're going to do is instead of that base class of HTML elements, we're going to use the lit element. So lit has already taken a bunch of stuff and is doing it for us. So as far as updating values and all these things, so it's kind of like it's helping us. It's a tool to help us with our templating. All right, and to help create web components a little bit easier. So again, we have the class again, like before, and with the VC keypad, all right, and it extends the lit element. And then we have a bunch of style stuff here. So to kind of show that we're going to be changing this up, hey, somebody give me a color over there in the text, it's chat, or make it as a question or something. Let me get a color. Oh, this is not cheaper than micro front ends. Okay, so with micro front ends, micro front ends also use like web components. And so it's kind of like the same idea. Burgundy, sounds good. We'll roll with burgundy. So with micro front ends, that idea is, I guess, using like Angular and Vue and like React all in the same application, right? But with that, you have to remember that you have to pull in those frameworks as well. So if you have one application that is using a React component, an Angular component, a Vue component, remember, you have to pull in Angular, React, and Vue into that one application, and that can be kind of heavy, right? So that's kind of like where micro front ends kind of come in, if I'm not mistaken. And whereas with web components, same idea. It's just that you can use them in any project, basically, and they don't rely on a heavier framework. Because like lit is like kilobytes worth of size. So like if we take a look at lit.dev, again, stencil, somebody brought up stencil before, and I'll look up stencil as well. I think it's stencil.js. Cannot type stenciljs.com. Now, stencil.js is cool because it's like a compiler. And so what it will do is take your web component and then compile it into just native stuff that the browser can understand. And you don't need like a library to kind of do the rendering, right? At least that's when I was playing around with it a long time ago. I've kind of switched over more to like lit because the size of it is very tiny. Like it's like 5 kilobytes. So you can take a look at how big React, Angular, and Vue are and see like which one is bigger. I'm willing to guess lit is going to be a lot smaller. So, and because all it does is just worth the rendering, whereas with Angular and Vue, they have a bunch of other stuff that they do. All right, so yeah, so this is the website, pretty cool. You can see a bunch of stuff here. All right, and then for all my TypeScript people, they do have TypeScript as well. So, but you can switch between JavaScript and TypeScript. So for all my TypeScript folks, they got you. All right, but in stencil, I believe is TypeScript only, if I remember correctly. You could probably use JavaScript in there somehow. All right, so back to this. And so burgundy was brought up. I think burgundy is a color we can use. Burgundy. Did I spell that right? Oh, let me save it. Hopefully. Oh, no, apparently I did not spell that correctly.
I gave you the X value.
Oh, you did. Oh, you're awesome. Appreciate you. There we go. Thank you. See, this is what I'm talking about. This is a group effort. Where did I put it? Here it is. See that? Nice. There we go. So now we know that I'm not faking out. We're going to actually use this web component. All right. So then again, we have some of the properties. So these are the same things I was talking about before. It's attributes that I showed before. Let's see what else. Cool. We have all this stuff here. Great. The keys again. So in the constructor, we have the super again, and then I'm setting the initial values for all the different parts. Cool. And then we have, this is kind of like this. It's supposed to be like a private one. So like the add digit. And I think in TypeScript, you can actually make it private, but I just put 2 underscores to kind of denote that, hey, these are supposed to be like private things. But here's the actual one. Where's the create action here? You can call that. And you can also call the cancel action is called when the end action happens. So that's a whole another thing, but it's just a bunch of logic that happens. And then here, like I was saying, it's kind of like a more complex template. And so by using lit, we can kind of like have a structure that's kind of similar to if you like use any of the frameworks. So you can kind of put like the logic inside of your template, and that's what lit helps us do, right? So you can kind of see, I have like when you click it, this is what happens. A bunch of stuff here. So there's just a lot of different logic. So it kind of makes it a little bit easier because otherwise, having to do that through like vanilla JavaScript and having to do the event listeners and keeping track with everything might be kind of a pain. Sometimes it's just easier to have it in the template itself. And that's why we use like frameworks like Vue, Angular, and React, right? So, all right, so there, we got that, cool. So now what we're going to do is we're going to actually publish this. All right, so this is, so like I said, web components dev makes a lot of prototyping a little bit, a lot easier. So what we're gonna do is now we can just go here, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut a release. And what's cool is it's namescaped to WCD, which is webcomponents.dev, right? Because we may be creating the same, like if I was like, if you're also named Dwayne and you created a made thing, you could do Dwayne-made or whatever. Now to kind of denote like whose is who, you can namescape them so that when you have it in your documentation, the user knows, all right, this is the one from this here that I know. All right, so yeah, that's a way of kind of being able to like clear any ambiguity. So now what we're gonna do is we're just gonna release it. And so it's doing all the stuff for you. So it's basically setting it up to npm js.com for us. And underneath their actual username here. So it's creating it, it's doing all this stuff. Awesome, cool. So it's building it. Oh, and also you see here, custom elements.define, the same VC-keypad, and we have the keypad, the actual logic that was in the class. All right, is it almost done? Might take a second. Okay, here we go. So now if we want to take a look at it on npmjs.com, eventually, bam, here it goes. All right, and then you have the npm install here, and then they have like the link to check it out on their site. So bam, we have our web component published. Cool. Now, keep it moving. Now, is everybody, how's everybody doing? Let me get thumbs up if we're all good, if we're doing all right. Or you can put like something in the chat, which I, let's see. Oh, okay, yes, sorry. Yeah, 5 kilobytes, right? That's super tiny. Burgundy is close to red. Blue, yellow. Yellow would have been kind of hard with the white text. All right, so everybody, let me check. I want to make sure, because again, there's a delay. So I'm getting some yeses. Cool. All right, very good. Thanks again for participating. Appreciate y'all. And again, you'll be able to check this all out at your own leisure. You have the password. I'm going to make it so you can scroll through the slides and you'll be able to do all this as well. All right, so now we have a vanilla JavaScript project here using CodePen. All right, so now the issue, like I said before, is that we can't npm install here. So we're going to have to use a CDN. Let me close some of this stuff here. So what we're going to do is, so you can look here, we have this script tag, and we have, this is just a polyfill, but like I showed before, all modern browsers support all the different things needed for web components, but there's polyfills just in case if you need to support an older browser. So they got you there. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take the here, so this here should be what we need to pull
Mistrust.
from unpackage here. All right, so
In the first week, she got so much.
Ibukun, thank you, Bam. Bam, so there we go. We have our web component. And it's being pulled from this CDN here. And you can actually go to that website, to that URL, and kind of see what's there. And there you go. So that's the code we just wrote, right? So it's pulling it in from there, which is kind of cool. So we don't have to do any npm install or anything. Now, to kind of show how you can change up stuff. So let's say you want to get like really aggro and you really want them to enter in the number. You can change that up, like placeholder right there. There you go. And it updates just like that. Cool. All right. All right. So now go on to the next. So that's, that's cool with, regular JavaScript. Now let's talk about how we can actually install it. So this is StackBlitz. I'm not sure how many people are familiar with StackBlitz. I'm a big fan of StackBlitz stack blitzes, because again, I'd rather use somebody else's servers and space when I'm creating just random projects. And so there's Stack Blitz, there's like Code Sandbox. There's a bunch of different ones that have like, you can do things in the cloud, right? So for this one, I'm using Stack Blitz. And let's see here. I think, you know what, let me open this in a new project. That way we have more room and I don't overwrite. I think I've done that before where I've overwritten the project before and it's a pain to go and fix it. It's fine. So here we are. This is just another JavaScript project, but I wanted to show and installing the actual web component. So what we can do here is enter in the package name, which again is the, you see it here at wcd/conscious.vc, blah, 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 which is right here in the URL. I'm gonna copy that again. And the way Stack Blitz, where is it? Installs, you can do it right from the browser. You just put the package name in here. So it's basically you're doing like npm install. Hit enter. So it's going to find it, installing dependencies, and you can see the version number right there. Bam, we have it, right? So just some the JavaScript thing here. Now what we want to do is for it to show up, we need to import it. And if you didn't get it out, you can just actually what do you call it? Like uncomment this, and it'll show like an older one. But I want to do the one we just created, so we're going to import, just like you would in any other project that you may have worked on. I'm going to paste in that same thing there. And then there you go, bam. So showed how to do it with CDN, showed how to do it with npm install. All right, cool. Next up. All right, so now I'm gonna need y'all to help me out again. So the web component that we just like customized and created, where should we put it? Angular, React, or Vue? All right, we're getting Angular. All right, all right. I'm always interested in seeing like. You want to do React? All right, so I'll vote for you, React. All right. Oh, okay, we got 2 votes. All right. All right, let us know. Because you know, like certain frameworks are more popular in certain places, right? And so I'm always kind of interested in seeing like what people are using. All right, so look like we're going to, and again, you'll be able to check these out afterwards and you can go through them yourself in the slides. So I have all the different ones there. So you'll be able to check it out. But for right now, since we're coming up on time, let's go with React. All right, so we're gonna go to React. Now the thing is, it's funny that people chose React because React has like the worst compatibility with web components. And you can look at all the different ones here at custom-elements-everywhere.com. Really cool website where they say like making sure that frameworks and custom elements, or like AKA web components, can be BFFs. And I don't know if that comes like best friends forever, just in case I don't know like what's, what folks know. But yeah, so they're so they run all these different tests. So you can see that Vue is pretty good, 91% score. React, again, not the greatest. But, and this is what I'm giving a talk on. So like a spoiler alert, my talk is going to be on that. How many people know that there's an experimental branch of React that has full support for web components? And I'm going to go more into that in my talk, which is happening, well, my time Saturday. But check it out. Let me know what you think. But then you see like Angular is 100%, Svelte 100%. So even AngularJS that's not even like used anymore still has 100%. Preact, Polymer, all these different things. So React, not so much. So I'm going to go over why that is. All right, cool. So let's take a look at that. So here we have this project that I created before. It's from a blog post. You'll be able to read the blog post. I talk about how to use web components in React and all the different versions of React, going all the way back to like class components. And close this. All right, so we have this one here. Let me fork this. Oh, I didn't fork this, didn't I? Oh, I just messed that up. That's fine. Let me fix this real quick. Give me a second, because I just went over. I forgot to fork it. Let me delete this. All right, cool. We're back to normal. All right, good. All right, now back to React. So here we have a React project, right? And you can see I'm using React DOM. It's React 17. I think 18 just came out. Not a lot of changes, but should work either way. And so now we're going to install our web components, which let me get the reference to it again here. So I'm going to install it locally. All right, we're doing that. Cool. And then I just need to import it like we did before. Cool. And there it is. Now, to be able to interact with it, because the thing is, React, there's two things that the frameworks should be able to do with web components. It should be able to pass in properties and attributes, and it should also be able to listen for events that come out of it. And that's what custom elements does. That's what they kind of tested on. Now, the thing is that React, when it passes in the properties and attributes, it only passes them in as strings. And that's cool if you just have strings. But if you have what they call like rich data, so like arrays or objects, you're going to get that dreaded object thing, which I'm sure we probably all come across, right? So there's ways around that, and I'm going to show that. But also the way for listening for events, React has its own like synthetic event system that it has. So it doesn't really listen for like regular events because it's all done within its own thing. So that's kind of like a pain as well. But all that's taken care of in the experimental branch. And again, I'm going to talk about that during my talk. All right, so let's talk about how we get this to work. So what we're doing is, so we're using useState for all this stuff here, normal. We want to get a reference to our keypad. So we're using useRef to get a reference to our keypad, right? And then we're using useEffect to set up the listeners for the web components. I have a separate one there for like the contacts, but we don't have to worry about that. You can look more into the code if you want to check that out. So what I'm doing is I'm setting an event listener on the keypad. Because remember, we have the digits added, the digits sent, and the actions ended that are coming out of the web component, right? So in order for me to add event listeners, I need to get the reference. And I guess the current version of that reference, because I guess it changes, because again, with the synthetic events and the update and stuff. And then we're adding the event. All right, and then we're just saying like digits added, I want you to go to the handle digit added method. And then when you do the return of the use effect, you have to remove the event listeners that you added. And that's what that does. And then I have like, so like digit handle digit added is this thing here, and that just console log stuff. So that links to these things here. Cool. Now, let's see what else. What am I doing here? Oh, and then like, well, for example, if you wanted to set like a value on there, like if you want to set like I'm setting a string here, but if you want to set like an object or whatever, what you'd have to do is get that reference, the current and then set the value of it to whether it be an array or string or object or what have you. Did I do that anywhere? I don't think I did that anything up here. All right, cool. So now here is the actual templating part. And so we have the VC keypad right here. And you see, I'm just setting, since they're simple like strings, I can set them on the actual web component. So that's why that says call there. So if you wanted to say, you know, get real aggro again and say call exclamation point, see, it added it there. And then we have the hang up. Then here's the reference. So this is what's allowing React to be able to get a reference to our web component so that then it can be, then it can listen for the event listeners and do all that other stuff that we showed up before. All right, so that's pretty much it. It's not too much to do. It's just kind of annoying to do. But like I said, there's the experimental branch where all that stuff is, you're good to go. All right, cool. So that is that using in React. Awesome. And like I said, if you want to go back, check it out. There's Angular and Vue as well. I'm writing another blog post on Svelte at some point. So I will be adding Svelte. When Svelte's not that bad either. It's pretty nice. All right, so, and we're talking about some other stuff, Vue. All right, so now our web component is becoming more awesome. We kind of talked about, we saw some examples. We see who's using them. We created our own. and then we used it in a random framework. So what are you thinking so far? You find this helpful? Could this be helpful in your own programming journeys? Let me know. While I'm doing that, let me look through any things here. Cool. Yeah, Stack Blitz is pretty awesome. React. Okay, a bunch of people want to React. Okay, well, I'm just seeing this now. Angular a couple of times. All right, cool. Yes. All right, so yes, thank you all again for interacting with this. Makes it a lot better because it's like you're talking in the void, kind of. It's so like soul crushing. All right, so here we go. Now, want to kind of like final stuff up, kind of like finalize things. All that stuff is cool, and we were able to change the color of the button inside of the web component. But now let's talk about getting our users to style it themselves, right? Because I'm a big fan of people expressing themselves on the internet. That's one of the things I love about it, and people being able to kind of like express their style on however they want on their projects. So let's do that with web components. Now, from what my research, there's like two main ways of styling web components. So there's CSS custom properties, right? Also known as CSS variables. And then there's the part. I'm not too sure how many people know about part. Part is kind of awesome. All right. So let's start off with CSS custom properties. So let's say we have a web component, right? And inside of that web component, we have a button. And we want to be able to give the user the ability to style that web component. All right. So inside of our web component, we can call on the button, and then we can set like the background color for it. And so what we're going to do is this is where the CSS variable part comes in. We put in the variable. We put in like a variable name that we want the person to be able to use, and we have a default value, right? So that the person can then in their application, in their CSS, have this root and then set the variables that they want. All right, so if they wanted the background to be blue, bam, it was going to be blue. All right, if they don't set anything, it'll be red. And that's cool. So now let's say we wanted the border radius of the button. Well, then we just in our CSS would have the border radius, again, the variable, maybe hyphen my elements hyphen border hyphen radius. And we put a value as a default, I don't know, 10. Then the person using it would then just need to put hyphen my element hyphen border hyphen radius and whatever they want, 20, right? Cool. Now, what if we wanted to do the font color of the button? Well, then we would have to put another one, color, then the variable name, and then the default, and then the person would have to put that there. Well, what if we wanted to do like a text shadow? Then we could do that, a bunch of, so as you can see, it can get to be a lot to be able to have a person do whatever they want to style your web component. Now, you may want that to just limit certain things that they can style, right? So then custom properties would be a good avenue to go down, right? I'm getting all sorts of notifications again. So if you want them to just be able to do certain things, that's cool. So you can do that. Me, like I said, I want a person to be able to express themselves however they want with the web component because, it's the web. Let's keep the web weird. I'm a big fan of that. So that's where part comes in. And so part has an interesting journey on how it came to be. And so I have a blog post from a person named Monica. I think it was the person's name. And so I have their blog post, and it kind of goes through the history of how we got to part. So, and then also have MDN if you want more information on it. So let's say we have the same web component. Let's say it's called custom-elements. Great name. And we have a button inside of there. So what we have is button, but then notice we have this part attribute, and we're setting that to button. So we're naming this part of our web component button. Original, I know, but for me, it's just simple. So we're calling this this part of our web component, naming it this. It's a button, so we call it button. All right. Now, what the user can do then is call on the custom element, because again, it's just like a regular HTML element. So the same way you would call an H1 tag or an image tag, you can call your custom element, : part and the name of the button. And then you style it however you want in there. Whatever you can do with a button, you can do it there. All right, so you don't have to worry about setting the different variables and allowing the person to be able to do it. All right, cool. So now that's all well and cool. Let's see it, let's see it like actual examples, because theoretical is cool and all. But let's actually see some examples. Now, I created this set of web components for work, and so it's kind of like it goes along with the keypad elements, and so I created these. So if you wanted to create like a chat app, because that's one of the things we do at Vonage, I wanted to be able to abstract all the different parts. So all you have to do is just put it in your HTML. So if you wanted the VC members to be on the left side of the VC messages in your HTML, just put it on the left side. Each component knows what it needs to do. So it knows what listeners to look out, what events to listen for, and what events to send. So everything knows what it needs to do. If you don't want a typing indicator, don't include VC typing indicator. So I want it to be as straightforward as possible and easy to be able to create a chat app. So created it, and to my surprise, people wanted to be able to style it. I'm like, oh, that makes sense, because the default, I think it looks nice, clean, like we'll see some of it, but I want people to be able to style it so that it actually matches their overall application, because I always want our stuff to be a part of your application, not like, because you already have like an application. I want our stuff to be a part of that to help enhance it. I don't want it to take over, unless it is just a chat app you're doing or something. You know what I'm saying? But we want it to be as easy as possible to make it a part of your overall application. And so web components for me are a good thing to do to accomplish that. So here's like the VC text input, right? So, I think it looks pretty cool, nice clean design. Now let's say you wanted to customize it yourself. Well, then you can just do that. So there you go. Totally different. Again, I don't know why you want to do that, but hey, you can. And that's what makes the web amazing. You can do things, anything that you want. So again, we have the VC text input. That's the name of the whole thing. We have the part, which is the button, which is this. You see, I turned the text color to red. I put a 2-pixel green solid border around it. We have the font size, made it a little bit bigger. And then the background color is transparent. Now the other part, this part here, I call it input because it's an input. And so again, I put the text color. So if I were to type into here, see it's red. We have the border radius 0, so it's like squared off. Border radius, I used a blue dotted for whatever reason. I made the background color yellow. Whatever you want, you can make it happen. All right, let's take a look at another example. The VC members. Now this one is interesting because this one, so let's take a look. That's how it looked before, And now there, bam. Again, I don't know why you want to do that, but you can. So web components give you that flexibility. All right, so now there's a few gotchas, because when you try to style like the evens and odds of like a list element, I couldn't find a way to attach a part to it, because a lot of times you're just adding it as it's coming up, right? So I had to use custom CSS variables or CSS custom properties to set the odd colors here. It's like the odd child, like 1 and 3, and then the even ones here. So that's why that's green, that's blue. I wasn't able to find a way, and I asked some very smart people on how to do it. They said it wasn't possible, but who knows? Maybe at some point in the future, it might be possible. So let me know. All right, cool. So we got that, right? Now here's the keypad one, right? So here's how it looks initially. But let's say I thought, well, what if somebody wanted to use that keypad to create like a gamepad? And so you like to move like a little spaceship or what have you. So then you're able to kind of like remove certain buttons, and then even change here like pew pew. So like if you have like a spaceship shooting asteroids or whatever. So you can make it look however you want. And I think that's pretty much it. Thanks for having me. The web blog series is there. You can check it out there. My Twitter, feel free to hit me up. Let me know what you think. Got my website there. You can check out our APIs. You get I have a coupon code there. You can get 10 euros to check it out. I'm not going to show it now because they would blast it all over the internet, but you'll be able to check it out and you can redeem it in the dashboard. And yeah, I think that's it. How am I on time? Bam, with 4 minutes left. All right. Anybody got any questions? How was it?
You
Let
can
me get some
switch on
thumbs up.
your you can unmute if you want.
Yeah, let me get some thumbs up. It was cool. Oh, yeah, we have like Angular. If you want to see, because okay, so I have Angular is pretty straightforward. So if you want to check it out, you can check that link out. And I have the demo. You can check it out. But I have a link on how to do. So here's with React. Here's a Vue, both Vue 2 and 3, and here's Angular. And so you can check it out. And I go through everything that you need to do on making it work with Angular here. And so like you npm install it, and then you put it in your app, your HTML, you put it in HTML, and then Angular is smart enough to it'll actually give you an error and give you like tips on how to fix it. So it's like Dwayne's keypad is not a known element. And so if it's an Angular component, then verify it's part of the module. So you do that with the Angular stuff. If it's a web component, then you need to add the custom element schema. And it tells you where to add it, which is kind of amazing. And so that's what you do. And so, yeah, so you add the custom schema here. And then, yeah, you just kind of keep it moving. And it just kind of like works. And then I show you how to handle data and handle events. So there's that. And feel free, if you go through it, hit me up if you have any questions about it. Again, like my Twitter, and yeah, that's probably the best way to hit me up on Twitter.
Gift, do you want to say a bit about tomorrow and Saturday?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, Dwayne. That was an amazing workshop.
Appreciate
I learned a lot, and I'm sure others also did. Yeah, so for folks in Lagos, if you are in Lagos and you'd like to come for the meetup happening tomorrow, it's currently, I'm hoping people are already registered, but if you're not, you can also like reach out to me. I'm open to giving you slots to come. But the meetup is happening at University at Yaba. And it starts at 12 p.m. So if you want to be there, we have amazing speakers like Claire Charles, who's talking about JavaScript in Web3, and a few other speakers as well. So if you would like to show up for that, definitely come through. And also on Saturdays.
Was it me or did Gift?
Oh. Did you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, yeah.
You were mentioning on Saturday.
Oh yeah, on Saturday we have the in-person event also in Lagos, Bagada specifically.
I think you just got muted again. But shouts to Collins. Thank you very much about the part. Part is pretty amazing. So yeah, let me know what you think about that on Twitter.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, you're back.
Yeah, my internet is crappy.
Yeah. We will broadcast everything on YouTube. So if you don't have tickets, say again. What, Asina?
I was referring to Gift. Our village people are really against that.
Oh, yeah. Since I got here, I've been struggling with Glow internet. Yeah, but it's village people. Aris probably does not understand that reference, but it's like it's a thing we say here. When things are not going well for you, it's like your village people are after you. Yeah. Anyway.
That's why we are doing it in person. So we want everyone to be as human as possible. I'm glad that the workshop worked out well. So thanks, Dwayne. As always, you're a legend.
Anytime I get a chance to run my mouth about web components, I'm down. So yeah, let me anytime you need me. And again, hopefully I'll be able to be there in person if Eris and Gif will have me. You know what I'm saying? So I'm working on next year. I want to start getting into some like web XR stuff. So I'm hoping to have some like really cool things to do. Kind of like more than just like the XR tic-tac-toe game stuff. So I'm really looking to do some cool stuff. So yes.
Thank you. Have a good evening, everyone.
Thank you.
All right, thanks y'all again. Hit me up if you need anything. Y'all be easy, be safe. Enjoy the rest of the conference. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
And enter in for the Fitbit.
Bye.
Thanks.
Yes, yes, enter the giveaway.
Doing.
Hello.
Yeah, what's up?
It was a
Wait,
great.
Okay, what's up? Sorry, go ahead.
Hi, doing. It was a great.
Hey, what's up?
It's a great workshop.
Oh, appreciate you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yeah. I want to know your Twitter account. I want to follow you.
Okay, yeah, hit me up.
Drop
I'll
your-
follow you back. As long as you're not a bot,
Yeah.
I follow pretty much everybody back.
Yeah, my name is Rahman.
All right, cool. Yeah, hit me up whenever. You know what I'm saying? I'm always down to talk about web components and web stuff in general. So thanks to everybody for coming out. Anybody else want to say anything? I'm here. I get paid to do this, so I'm chilling. So whatever y'all want to do.
Thanks to Bonnet as well.
Word. And enter in the Fitbits are pretty cool. So health is wealth. So yeah, gotta keep yourself healthy.
Thank you, Dwayne.
All
See you
right. Thanks,
soon.
y'all. Y'all be easy. Hit me up if you need anything. Thanks again, y'all.
Thank you.
See you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.